Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how all these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, Okonjo Iweala tells Tinubu, you must pay attention to the poor. In the course of the program, we take your questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Good to see you, Vikil.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Good to do this with you. For the first time, I'm coming to you from my office. Yeah,
I'm the
it's
sister bar.
the Co-Atlantic.
Absolutely. Makes a whole lot of sense. And it has a different feel, like you're going to be doing a national broadcast.
Yes, I'm seated like the president.
Like the president. Right. So now let's get cracking. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala urged Tinubu to use, they're talking about President Tinubu to use social safety nets to ease the pain of subsidy removal after meeting him in his office. Praising his reforms but stressing support for the poor. The question is, why do you think social safety nets are crucial for Nigeria now, especially for families struggling with food prices?
Yeah, they are crucial, no doubt about it. Even the World Bank recommends that um, in countries where poverty is rampant, that there is need to, from time to time, um, do um, conditional cash transfer and other things that can be done to ease the pains of the people. So this is just a normal thing in an economy like ours. The people know that they'll be happy when government comes to their aid like this. And it's not only in Nigeria that you need uh, to help the poor, show up for the poor, and that is what the president um, needs to do, and that is the big advice that Okonjo Iweala gave the president. I am surprised that people are attacking her, abusing her. But she said the truth. If she says that some of the fundamentals show that our economy is stable at this time. She has not said anything wrong. When economists say an economy is now stable, what they are saying is that the economy has reached a point where it is no longer experiencing major fluctuational disruptions. For example, we now have both the black market and the official market rates of our foreign exchange, coming together. So the era of big time arbitrage is no longer the case. There used to be a very wide gap in the past, which encouraged people to hoard dollars, take take it to the black market and make good money. So today, Nigerians can see that the value of our currency, the official value, the value of our currency is stable, very stable at this time. So it is one of the reasons people can plan, and it's one thing that encourages investors to come and invest in your country when they can see that, yes, there's stability in terms of foreign exchange. You can plan, you know what to expect. So our currency has been stable at between 1,500 to 1,500 and 1,000, let's even say 1,600. Is not gone above that in a long time. Just been moving, sometimes 1,560, and 1,000 uh, 560 in that region, not crossing the 1,700 mark, as was the case a little over a year ago, when at some point it even came to like 1,900 to the dollar. So that stability is important. It enables businesses to plan. It is also a good shot in the arm for those who want to invest in our country. That is the point that Okonjo Iweala is making. That, it means that overall indicators like inflation, exchange rates, and GDP growth are not swinging unpredictably. They are quite stable. They are things that people can relate with, that people can predict and predict accurately too. So that's the point that she's making. She didn't say that our economy is in such a good place, that the economy is fantastic. No, she just said that the reforms have helped to make the economy stable. But she didn't waste time. She went on to say, look, even at this time, there is a pressing need to uh, take good care of the poor in our the poor and the most vulnerable in our country, so that they can cope with the economic hardship occasioned by the reforms that the president initiated. So he's saying that government can focus next on growth and protecting the vulnerable citizens. So once we've achieved stability, focus on growth, focus on vulnerable citizens. And she said that there's a strong need for safety nets to shield Nigerians from the impact of those sweeping reforms. She affirmed that 146 Nigerian women entrepreneurs have been selected to receive grants and business support under a new Women Exporters Fund for the digital economy. She also commended the president, for working to stabilize the economy, but she said reforms, yes, they are good. Those reforms show that we are headed in the right direction, but people need to be supported. And I think that Okonjo was right on the money, because the immediate past president, Muhammadu Buhari, took helping the poor seriously. And the former president actually institutionalized the poverty alleviation efforts by enacting a National Social Investment Program Agency Act. The law provides for a legal and administrative framework for delivering the key social welfare programs like trader money, conditional cash transfer, and all that. On the average, the former president, was spending about 25 billion by way of conditional cash transfer. And the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, the woman who also headed the conditional cash transfer office, knew that every month that was what to expect. And the finance minister had to make that money um, available. So the law is already a law in place to
That's right.
ensure that these conditional cash transfers are made. These safety nets are given to our people. So the law was already in place. It's not like the president is being asked to do something out of the ordinary. There is a law that
Mm.
mandates the government to come up from time to time with this social safety net, with this conditional cash transfer, so that you can ease the burden that the vulnerable are facing in our country. We know that in our country, so many people are actually going through a lot. Many cannot feed properly. Many cannot pay school fees of their children. So there are steps that government can take at this time.
That's
Target
right.
the vulnerable. Come up with programs for them that will make their life have a meaning. Everyone talks about the Nel Fund, you know, which was created thanks to the bill by former House of Rep Speaker Bajabiamila, who is now the Chief of Staff to the President. The whole idea is to ensure that even children of the poor can have access to good education by helping them to pay their tuition fees and also giving them some stipends. I wonder whether that's how you and course pronounce it. You are also
Yeah,
giving
that's
them
very
some,
correct. Right.
yes, giving them some stipends that can help them be able to pay their bills in school apart from their school fees. The government, by this loan scheme created for students, uh, has already guaranteed. And you can see jubilation. I saw videos of students, I think, of one of the schools in northern Nigeria. By the way, students from northern Nigeria have actually benefited more from the students' loan scheme because they need it and many of them believed in it. They didn't have doubts. They believed in it. They subscribed to it, and a good number of them are enjoying it now. So we need some of those programs that are targeted at the poor in our society. We need programs that will help farmers, subsistence farmers, to be able to take farming to the next level, make grains, high yield grains, make available to them, provide other input, provide fertilizer to them at rock bottom rate so that they can they will be able to afford those things that will help them boost agri production. So this is basically what Iweala is saying. Iweala is not saying, "Oh, Mr. President, you've done so well. You are the best president we've ever had." She's saying, "Yes, you are stabilizing our economy at this time. And those policies, it is true that those policies have helped to stabilize the economy. You know, at least no, the fluctuations are not like we used to be. Today, governors admit that they have a lot more money to devote to infrastructure development and all that. In fact, the governor of Kwara State told me that he achieved a lot more in 2 years than he did in 4 years because there are funds now available thanks to the removal of fuel subsidy, you know, to carry out big time projects like roads, bridges, and the rest of them, and also to support agri production. So we've done that. Governors now have more money to service the debts that they inherited. Governors have more money to give people dividends of democracy. But there are still many people starving. There are still many people who need to have their hands, who need to be lifted out of the poverty line. There are still many people who need to be given all kinds of support at this time. You know, so and that is the point that she's making, that we must not at any time forget the poor and the vulnerable,
That's right.
especially when there is a law already in place to mandate government to do that. So
That's right.
this government has to consciously make funds available, have a very solid and watertight register for the poor in our society,
All right.
create schemes that will help people, you know, put food on their table, schemes that will help poverty alleviation schemes that people can benefit from. Funds must be made available for such poverty alleviation schemes so that you teach people how to fish and not simply to put fish in their hands. So I'm really happy with Okonjo Iweala uh, for for making this point clear that
That's right.
needs to assist the poor. We need to
Yeah.
create safe nets for the most vulnerable in our society. And the most vulnerable, we all know, the poor, the elderly people, you know, they need help at some point.
Mm.
So these are the people, the most vulnerable in our society, the poorest of the poor. They need to be supported as best
Yeah,
as we can.
BKO. Yeah. But while Okonjo Iweala's focus is on empowering the poor, some, critics actually worry that social safety nets could create dependency rather than self-reliance. So how do you think we can balance, short-term relief with long-term self-reliance, especially with these prevailing circumstances?
And that was why I said earlier that poverty alleviation schemes should be instituted. For example, if you train, I saw that Lagos State was training people in different trades the other day. And I saw the governor, I listened to him telling the people what to do. If you train people, for example, how to be good barbers, they'll set up their own salons. They'll be able to live on the training that you've given them. If it is grinding machines or motorcycles that you give to people, they'll be able to use what you have provided them through soft loans and all that to make a living, to provide for their families. I've seen youth corps members who, after finishing the national service, went to thank their father who was who paid their way through school by riding an Okada, you know. So some of these welfare schemes can really make a difference in the lives of our people. I can tell you that, okay, even when in the NYC camp, people are being taught different trades that they were not introduced to in school. Some of them, I did a documentary for the NYC, and some of those guys were saying, see, now that I've been properly trained in the camp, I am going to eventually set up a business based on the training that I've received. I went to school, I studied banking. I may not even bother to become a banker to work in a bank. I've been taught a trade, and this is what I will use to make a living. I mean, earn a living. There are some people who are taught how to do adire, for example. Today, that is what they are earning a living based on that. So, government should be intentional about teaching people skills that can put food on their table. Not not all of us can get the white collar jobs because the white collar jobs are just not there. But there are communities in our country where some particular skills we don't have people who have them in good number. So when you have it, you can then earn your living, your decent living. You don't need to beg anyone for money. You can make, you can survive and even take care of your family based on those traits. So what I'm saying is that should help, government should create such empowerment schemes and get more and more people to partake in it and earn their living, you know. So, and part of what we need to do is also the issue of school feeding, the school feeding program. You know, I can tell you that school feeding program, if sustained, it can even help us to drive up enrollment figures, because these young children know that, okay, going to school has been incentivized. Once they are in school, they will be able to have 2 square meals while in school, and the rest of the time they can receive instruction in class from their teachers. So we really need to support the poor. Those who are saying to create dependency and all that, a country like the UK, they've had this for so long. They've had it for so long, for as long as I can remember. But it has not stopped the prosperity of Great Britain, in spite of the attention that they have chosen to give the poor in their midst, people who are vulnerable. So they wait for those social welfare schemes. Yes, some people you can say some people depend on it, but we really can't help the situation since a lot of our people are groaning under the weight of the president's policies. It makes sense to help the people who have been badly affected by these reforms. Yes, we are not quarreling against those reforms. Those reforms
That's
have
right.
their own advantages, but we must consciously make efforts to help the most vulnerable in our society. And if countries like
That's
Great
right.
Britain, if they are still doing it, if the Americans do it, then we cannot say that it's a bad thing.
Not
I
much.
do not see it
Yeah.
as a bad idea.
Yeah. That's right. Aisha Bilo says inflation. Okay, I think this one is talking about inflation, and I would like to also ask question about inflation. So these people are concerned about inflation. This one says inflation at 21.88% sounds like progress, but my family in Kaduna still can't afford yam or rice. Okonjo Iweala is right. Okonjo Iweala is right. Tinubu needs to focus on the poor with real safety nets, not just status. Trader money, not just stats. Trader money failed us before. What's different now? This is saying now Okonjo Iweala's talking. Chukuma Obi says Okonjo Iweala's talking about women in trade, but How would that help my sister in Onitsha selling tomato? Fatima Yusuf says, I love Okonjo Iweala. Okonjo Iweala's $50 million plan for women in SMEs. As a tailor in Lagos, I would keep for trade support to export my designs. Please don't kill. But with corruption eating funds, like CBIL's law in 2017, how do we trust it will work? Um, okay, so let me take one or two more questions before we call it a wrap. If you look at Okonjo Iweala, she's calling for programs to support the poor, but Nigeria's track record with social safety nets hasn't been great. Think of the cash transfer scandals under the past administrations. Is she being too optimistic about Nigeria's ability to pull these off? Do you think?
I think that we should not be discouraged about the way such funds were handled in the past. There is a law mandating government to support the poor, which the past president, the late President Buhari, came up with. There's a legal framework already for that. So government should live up to that mandate. Go ahead, help the needy, help the most vulnerable in our society because a law is in place. A law is in place mandating you to do that. So I want to see this government, do that, freshen up that register for the most vulnerable in our society. They must constantly freshen it up and do their best to remove interference. Let's use technology to ensure that these monies get to the people who need them the most. Involve the banks, clean up the register, ensure that only the people who need it the most benefit from this scheme, this conditional cash transfer. The former governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, was one of the first to come up with this kind of support for the very poor, the elderly. He was giving money to the elderly, you know, at that time. Because look, if you are trained abroad, for example, you know that they do it. These are the things that help people stay away from crime. Yes, some people are greedy. No matter what you do, they will still take to a life of criminality. But we must not abandon the most vulnerable in our society because if we do that, we'll be creating problems for ourselves. Let's have a situation in which this law, we give so much vent to this law, we give the conditional cash transfer when necessary, when absolutely necessary. We come up with support for our people. Government at state level, at local government level, must be able to come up with this kind of support for the vulnerable. I remember when I went to Delta State to do a documentary in Warri South, the local government, Warri South local government, was giving um, stipends to the elderly people, the retirees in the local government. And I spoke with the beneficiaries. So if a local government, or this local government, can come up with this kind of cash handouts to the very poor, to the retirees who cannot struggle or hustle like you and I, nothing stops the federal government from doing that and doing it consistently. Because, as I said earlier, there's a law that was passed to that effect. So the
Yeah,
government has no reason not to do this because
that's right.
the law commits the government to this. And we shouldn't always talk about, oh, yeah, the money is going to be stolen. As you can see, some students have benefited from the students' loan. It's not perfect
Yeah,
yet. There are
yeah,
complaints that even some people don't receive the money until they have left school. Some are receiving the money now, even when they've left school. The pocket money gets to some people who are not students anymore. So we have to look at the implementation of these
care fund.
schemes
All
meant
right.
for the poor
Okay. Yeah.
so that
Okay.
we can really get better at implementing.
That's right. Chioma Eze says Okonjo Iweala's focus on farmer is key. Fadama helped my uncle in Oyo grow his crops. Tinubu used procurement laws to fund programs that lift the poor. Tobi Olaniwaju says Nigeria is broke. Where is the cash for Okonjo Iweala's safety nets? The 1980s handouts crashed our economy. Tinubu, don't repeat that. Fix the budget first. Rukayat Mohammed says corruption ate CBIL's law funds in 2017. Tinubu enforced anti-corruption laws, so help reaches my kids in Kano. Okay, well, let me take this last question, and then we call it a wrap because of our time. Um, Now there is good news, which greeted us yesterday on the pages of newspapers and even television. We're talking about the National Bureau of Statistics recently reporting that Nigeria's inflation rate dropped to 21.88% in July 2024, 2025, down from 22.22% in June, marking the fourth consecutive month of decline, driven by factors like the harvest season and policy measures. But how do you respond to many Nigerians who still feel the pinch of high living costs, questioning if this is just statistics, as one of the comments read?
Well, anyone um, living in some of the biggest or the main production beds of our country will know that food prices are indeed going down. Uh, we've reported this a number of times because one of the big drivers of the upward trend in the respect of inflation is food prices. Is a big factor in the uptick of inflationary trend. But food prices are coming down. People are recording good harvests, in many parts of the country. You go to Kaduna, for example, when I was doing a documentary in Kaduna, they sold, one of the guys who was with me bought a basket of tomato for 10,000 naira. Very big basket. This was tomato that in the past they could sell even four bulbs for 1,000 naira. A big
Yeah,
basket for 10,000 naira.
a big basket
So
used to be 125, 130, talking
yes,
about recent
yes,
times.
the correspondence, the cardinal correspondent was with me. We shot it. Maybe one day we are going to even play that video. You see the point when they were bargaining and how much the guy sold it. So if we improve on the state, if our roads get better and produce can be moved from any part of our country, from the rural communities to the urban centers more freely, honestly, these prices will go down. Look at beans, for example. The price of beans went down drastically, drastically. For some of the produce, in some cases, it's even more than 50% decline in price. So people can't deny this. I know that there are some Nigerians who don't want to hear that prices are going down. You
Yeah,
know,
a pint of beans, Sokoto beans, iron beans is around 5,000 naira in my 12 here.
so people, there are people who will always remain in denial. We are not saying we are there yet. When in terms of food prices came down, and different reasons have been given for that. Maybe in some cases, even better farming practices. Some of them claim that they picked up valuable lessons in the previous year. They implemented some of the new ideas, and it resulted in a high yield. And in some cases, because of improved security too, there is a greater agri production. You look at a place like Gwari that I went to. In the past, people could not access such places, but because of improvement in security, people, thousands of lorries, hundreds of lorries are even coming out of the area, bearing produce and all that. Let me tell you, our neighbors, Nigeria's neighbors, Cameroon, Niger, Chad, we're actually the ones feeding them. A lot of our produce go across the border. Even Chadians are buying oranges harvested in Benue State. I just came back from Benue. So you see that in many ways, increased agri production is actually impacting prices. And that is the goal. Whatever policy government comes with to drive agri production, it will inevitably lead to lower prices. If it doesn't lead to lower prices, then that means the policy has failed. So
Mm,
those who are saying that those figures are not correct is because they've chosen not to believe
not to
anything
believe.
good about our nation.
That's
That's
right.
why if you report something that's good, for example, now we are even achieving greater oil production now. We even slightly exceeded our quota. If you tell some people this story, they know they don't want to hear. All they want to hear is negative stories about Nigeria. If you are an individual who is only pleased by negativity as it concerns your country, then maybe you need to get another country. There's no point hating your country to the point that good news irritates you. So if good news irritates you, then you don't deserve to be one of us. It's as simple as that.
That's right. That's right. Beautiful analysis. According to Hassan Abdullahi saying that BKO, that's why I like you. Your comments are always spot on with based on facts and not fiction. Fumi Adeyemi saying that BKO, thank you so much for giving us this analysis. We look forward to more as we do every now and then. Uche Nwosu saying that Okonjo Iweala's digital trade idea for youth is exciting but no jobs in a worry. Tinubu needs trade laws to protect us from big companies exploiting small startups. Well, because of our time, that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade Otutoju, for those insightful analyses as always.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you to our esteemed viewers. We thank you for your patronage. We thank you for your love and consistent um, support for us in the best way that you can.
Mm. Right. Thanks to you to our audience for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.